Hey, and welcome back. This time we'll be starting to add some playability to our game by creating our player and making it move. So without further ado, let's get to it. Here we have our layout from the last episode, where we only changed the background color of it. To create our player, or basically anything in Construct, we need to press right mouse button on top of the layout, which will open a small dialog. From there, we choose Insert New Object, and then the construct will provide us different kinds of objects to create. For our player, we want to find something called Sprite. When we find it, we click it once to make it active. Under here, we can see a small explanation what kind of object it is. It says that it is an animated object that is the building block of most projects. Basically, it means that Sprite is a picture that can be animated. On top of it, we can name our object however we want, but one naming convention is to add abbreviation of the object type, then underscore, and then the name of the object. In this case, it would look something like SPR, meaning sprite underscore player. It is a good practice to name our objects properly. In small projects where there is only a few objects, it can be fine to not name them, but imagine a project with hundreds of objects. In that case, it will get messy really fast, and it will slow down your development process. Now we can press the Insert button. As you can see, now our cursor has changed into a crosshair, and it means that we need to click once more to the layout to choose where we want to put our object. It doesn't really matter at this point, as we can move it later. Once we click on the layout, Construct will open a Sprite Editor window. It works basically the same as the most of the painting softwares. So on the right hand we have the color picker, and next to it all the painting tools that Construct provides. On top there is the other tools like undo and redo, mirroring and rotating tools, and resize tools. Now we can draw our player character, and you can make it anything you like, but I will make it look pretty simplistic for the sake of the length of the video. And when you're ready, press the X button on the top right corner, but be careful not to close the whole internet browser. Now we have our player on the screen, but it is a quite big one. We can click our player once to make it active if it's not already. Now we can resize our player by pulling from the corners. But the other way to do it is from the properties window. There we can find a size option where we can make it to an exact size. I'm going to make it as 32 by 32. And finally, make sure that your player character is inside of this dotted line, as it shows the current location of the camera in the game. Now if we run our game, we can see our player on the screen, but nothing happens yet. To make our player move, we once again click it to make it active and go to the properties window. There we can find an option for behaviors. They are basically pre-made behaviors that our objects will follow when the game is run. If we click the Edit Behaviors button, it will open a new window that shows all the behaviors that the selected object has. Well, we don't have any yet, so let's press the Add New Behavior button and find one called Platform. If we click it once, we can once again see a small explanation. What will it do? It says that jump and run along the platforms. Basically, it is a simple platformer controller that we can use in our game. So let's press add and see what happens when we run our game. Well, our player fell straight through the screen. Now we need to add the platforms where we can jump and run. To do that, we will do the same procedure as with the player, but instead of a sprite, we will choose a tiled background. It works the same as Sprite, but if we resize it, it will copy the picture that is drawn in the editor. For the name, I will call it as tbg underscore platform. tbg meaning tiled background. As I made my player 32 by 32 pixels, I will also make the platform the same size. But this time I need to change the size inside of the Sprite Editor. This way the picture in the background won't be huge compared to the player. Again, once you're ready, press the X button and place it to the layout. Now we can stretch it to be the size we want, and as you can see, it will copy the same picture over and over again. But for now, I'll make the world to be just flat. Now we can test our game to see if it works. Well, once again our player falls straight through the platform. To fix this, we need to add a behavior to the platform. Once again, we find it from the properties window. This time we are looking for a behavior called solid. As the explanation says, it will make the object impassable, so the other objects don't go through it. Let's try our game again. Well, finally our game works. We can move and jump with the arrow buttons. But there's still a few problems. Now we can move, but it means also that we can move outside of the screen easily. To fix that, there is also a behavior for it. It is called scroll to. As a small challenge, try to add it to the player. Pause the video and do it by yourself. Alright, I assume that you did it. If there was problems, don't worry, we will do it together now. First, click player to active, then edit behavior, then add new behavior, and finally we need to find the behavior called scroll to. Now if we run our game, the camera should follow the player. And it looks like it does. One final bug we need to fix is that we can still walk off the level and fall to the void. Again, there is a behavior for it, and this time trying to find what it is and add it to the player. Look what kind of behaviors there are and read the explanation for more info. Again, pause the video and trying to find it. Did you find it? If you did, congratulations. And even if you didn't, don't worry. We will do it together now. So the same procedure as the last time. And the one we want to use is called bound to layout. It will stop the object from leaving the layout and basically creates an invincible barrier around the layer. Now our game should work fine. Finally, you can change the parameters of the platform behavior to make the player run faster or jump higher. Play around with them to get used to them. You can try to make more complex level, also to test how the jumping feels with different jump strengths. That's it for this episode. Next time we will dirty our hands in animations and get the first look in the event sheets. See you then.